right, let's go.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining today. I can see on the attendee list that there are some good friends. So welcome, everybody. So I'm Rune Fisker. I'm a Senior Vice President for Product Strategy and globally responsible for the lab and clinic business. I'm also have dentures as my hobby, and my nickname is the Denture Prince.
Oh, yes.
And I'm here with Rahul.
Yeah, hi. My name is Rahul, and I'm the Senior Product Manager for Dentures. And yeah, super happy to be here. We've had a lot of signups, a lot of interest in digital dentures. So we're really looking forward to run this webinar. So over to you, Rune.
Yeah, no doubt. So that dentures is burning hot. A few practicalities is that you can ask questions. We will also have a new system here. So we're going to jump a little bit into some video playing and of course run the PowerPoint and a live demo. Questions are welcome. There's also a survey, which would be great if you answer that as well.
Yeah.
All right.
But and then we also have some, there's a denture information deck. We've put together a few slides, the most frequently asked questions. And there's also a link to our copy denture workflow, which you can click on, and it's really useful. There's also a link to our community. So please click on that and register to the 3Shape community. It's you'll see that there's a lot of good discussions going on there.
Yes, super cool. So let's get started here. That's the agenda for today. Some short introductions. Then we look at Intra Oral Scanning. We look at the digital opportunities, the digital design service, and a particular dental system 2019, including a live demo. And we compare, overview the different manufacturing options. And then we look a little bit at what goes on in the future. But let's get started. So digital dentures is not a dream anymore. We have more than 1 million removable cases done in 3Shape in 2019. So we have around 200,000 trays done, been growing 200%. We have 700,000 RPDs. It's been growing 160% year over year. And then we will be hitting around 100,000 full dentures, growing 250% this year. So digital dentures is not a dream. Digital removables is not a dream anymore. It is reality. It's here and it's now, and it's just about getting started.
Yep.
So let's get going on the first indication here. So we're not going to spend much time on actually doing trays, but trays is really an overseen indication. You can do an impression scan. You don't pour the models anymore. You just do an impression scan, and you can design a customized tray, and it all takes 5 to 7 minutes. A lot of people also actually not just doing trays, but also doing base plates for the wax rim. And of course, all these are printed on low-cost 3D printers. But really get started on this. 200,000 cases. This is not just a dream. This is very, very real. So just looking on RPDs, we don't have so much time on talking about the software today, so we're going to skip over that, but there's a really good software. But what I think is still a little bit cutting edge is that the RPDs can be done on Intra Oral Scans, and we have done tens of thousands of RPDs with the trias and with great fit. So there's really great fit. You have a mucostatic impression, which is easily taken with the trias, and you get the bite from the teeth. So of course the discussion here is then how to produce it. And I would say the majority of people are still casting. So they print wax and cast it. Please be aware that that requires a very refined casting technology protocol, because you don't have a refractory model, so it will be casting directly in the investment material. Also, we see a quite big pickup of laser-sintered RPDs. This is both in Europe, in Australia and New Zealand, and also in the US with 3D RPD. And finally, we hear really good feedback also on the milled denture. So you have a metal-free denture, partial denture here. PMMA, Peak, Solvay, and also San and a couple of other companies have some really interesting material. And then finally, we actually also see the first printed or 3D printed dentures. This is for flexible So there's a company called Afona associated with Valplast that can print the base, and then you mill the teeth, and it's a very strong workflow also, and a very successful workflow also. But look at Afona's homepage here. So when we do metal frames, I've been puzzled for years about how actually to get the gingiva on, how to get the teeth on. And I really think that Germen Versteeg here from Holland came up with a very nice solution here, where he basically, design on top of the RPD, designed the gingiva and milled that out. And then he put acrylic here that runs into the retention grid. And then he basically have a full RPD. And of course, he then milled the teeth and put them in, or you could also use pre-manufactured teeth. But really a nice workflow that solves the basic problem of connecting in a pragmatic way, connecting the gingiva with the actual frame and the retention grid, and get that retention that we are all looking for.
Yeah, very cool workflow.
That's a really cool workflow, and I have a couple of other people also adapting that, like John Batchelor and others from New Zealand, and there's really good feedback on it. So really cool. Then let's go to the real thing for today, which is the digital dentures. So the future is here. But let's start, why digital dentures? I mean, there's no doubt that it gives overall a better patient experience. There's also better accuracy in clinical results. There are dramatic time savings, so we can reduce the chair time and patient visits from classical 5 visits all the way to 2 to 4 visits. Depending again on the indication and the workflow. There's also a dramatic decrease in labor cost or labor time. So you go from 7.5 hours to 2.5 hours for digital. So there's so strong benefits on this. And on top of this, there's a predictable, it's reproducible outcomes. You have a digital record. I had a good friend I just met here whose mom got a denture. And of course, very classic, 2 weeks later, the dog ate it, and he had to do it all over again. But this is a real story. I don't know what dogs have with dentures, but I think we all have heard these stories. So good fun. Also, I want to share, just a post with one of our really good users, Esther Schwinning, that just, extracted some numbers from her lab patient management system. And she's basically seeing that the number of adjustments is down over 80% since we started digital.
This is fantastic.
This is fantastic numbers. I mean, it's amazing. 80% down in adjustment.
Yeah. And Esther is a denturist in Canada. So, it's...
but she is so happy. You can also see what she says here. Going digital was the best thing we ever did. So she is so happy. She will also be presenting in Chicago if you are coming there, if you want to learn more about her experience. But really, really positive feedback. All right, so when we look into actually doing digital dentures, I mean, the workflow is key. All the way going from the scanning into the design software, having that integrated relationship there, and of course, also then integrated with milling machines or 3D printers. So those workflows are really key, and you need to ensure that those are enabled workflow from the scanner, especially from the scanner into the design software, because not everything is as smooth as it has been promised by some manufacturers. Basically, there are 3 different scanning workflows. You can also almost consider this as a digital journey. First, you can start with just using a lab scanner and scanning. Sorry, the light went out because there's a sensor in this room here. Sorry for that. We'll turn on the light again. So now we have light on again. No, the first is that you use a lab scanner. You scan wax rims and get that scan in. The next scan is that you scan impressions, allowing for a reduced number of visits on the clinic side. And the final is that you start using Intra Oral Scans directly. So that's really cool. So let's just look a little bit more on the Intra Oral Scans here. And we're just going to play a small video now here. So basically what you see in this video is Intra Oral scanning. with trios. And as you can see, it is already today really possible to scan with the Intra Oral scanners, and you can do it very fast if you're just a little bit trained into it. You know, you can say less than a minute. I also scanned myself recently on 75 seconds on a full arch on a real clinical patient. So this is reality. The question, of course, is what about the functional impression? What about potential border molding? How does this work? And I'm just going to show you another video here to show that these cases are actually not just a dream. They are actually real, working afterwards. And this is from Lucio in Italy. And he's basically here one of his early dentures. And he was also a doubt whether it would work. But clinical reality is that you can see you have fantastic suction effect. Dentures are sitting great. And the question, of course, is why is that? Why is that happening when we don't have border molding here? And the question is more explored here by Lucio. So basically, in Intra Oral scans, you don't have any compression. You don't push on the gingiva. You are basically working on a non-touch. When you do a conventional impression, there's a lot of pressure going on. So there's a lot of compression going on. So Lucio here basically made a comparison, comparing Intra Oral scans with conventional functional impressions. And what is quite surprising is there's surprisingly little difference. So he has a couple of examples here, where there's a 0.03 millimeter. So that's 30 microns in average distance, and there's a very low standard deviation also. And it's the same on the lower. So basically what this is showing is that within very tight tolerances, and by far more tight tolerances than what is needed for digital dentures, then we have very good accuracies. So you still see there's some differences. So let's just discuss a little bit what these differences are. And here you actually see the paper by Professor Lucio Di Rosso. So what you basically see here is there's a soft tissue part down here. So, and here you see the color map, the difference map here. So all these changes you see, is that really because of the soft tissue moving during the compression, or is it errors in the microstatic impression? We don't know exactly the truth yet, but I think it's very likely that these errors are actually coming from compression. And you will also see now the video is not, we don't have a video here, but you will see this part here basically is moving. And when you put, this is very movable. And when you take conventional impression material there, you will displace that part, which is obviously not correct. So I would claim that in many cases, the actual digital impression, because it's microstatic, is most likely more accurate than the conventional impressions. Yeah. And it's proven also that with Lucio doing more than 400 dentures, that it's not possible, that the digital dentures are working with great clinical results. He
also presented at IDDS at Atlanta, one of the keynote speakers, and he got a lot of positive reviews, a lot of people asking him exactly how he scans. We are working on a scan strategy along with him, and we will soon publish that. So you will soon get to know what scan strategies he's going to use. There are also questions about how do you take the bite registration using the trios and the intraoral scanners. I think soon we'll come up with much more information which will make it easier for you to understand.
I can also see there's a couple of questions here.
Yeah, so one question was how the dentist scans the relation between upper and lower with his trios when the patient is edentulous. So basically, does he scan the wax bite? How does he do this?
Yeah, so there's a range of different opportunities here. It depends whether it's for an immediate denture, it depends whether he has an existing denture, or it depends whether he's fully indentureless. And the reality is that they will often have either immediate denture, or they will need an immediate denture where they have a bite, or we will be able to do the copy denture workflow. But of course, you always need to have an appliance in the mouth to give you the bite. We will also see that some people are scanning 3D bite plates, or other people are scanning, similar, the AMD from Evident or similar things. Yeah. Or you can also scan the classical wax bite, but it's a little bit harder to do that without at least marking it up.
Yeah, but we know that some of them are producing the impression tray and putting the wax rim there. So they do the second patient visit, the functional visit, with the impression tray and the wax rim. So basically reducing this. And we will touch upon this later.
There's a couple of more questions here.
Yeah. Does this also apply to free and partial? I've heard many need to do a split cast impression after the cast framework is made, as the free end does not fit well. I'm not really sure.
No, so for the partials, so let's start with the partials. I mean, partials is working great. I have not heard a single problems on that partial. I don't know. You will be the first time telling me that. I'm not sure if free, but I guess you mean with a free-ended partial. Also a free-ended partial. I have not heard any problems with free-ended partials. So no, yeah. So generally, partials is working in our opinion, and the framework is fitting great. We haven't heard anything else. Again, it depends. The biggest problem with partials is how do you cast the framework if you do it out of wax, and this is the real challenge.
Yeah, and more questions asking about the scan strategies and the bite. Especially with edentulous patients. So
there's another question here. Did he make a function impression in the try-in? I don't think anyone do function impressions for try-ins. Not anyone. Of course, you do it when you do it, but I don't think that's the standard. I know a lot of people are using, Intra Oral Scanners for try-ins. I don't know if that was actually completely clear. You want to add anything for that, Rune?
No, I mean, some of them are actually skipping the trying phase. And when we have some slides on the workflows, then we can touch upon that. But no, he's not doing any functional impression using the try-ins itself.
There's a question. He was actually, is the scanning of the wax rim in the mouth okay? But the 3D alignments are complicated, and we totally agree to that. Yeah. So, and we are building better alignment workflows coming. So we are building all the different workflows for enabling Intra Oral Scanners as we speak. We'll also see actually later on the copy denture that we already have good workflows, and the same with immediate dentures as well.
Yeah. So there's a question on if the webinar will be available later. Yes, you will get a link to the webinar, the recorded webinar, in your mail after this session is completed. So yes, you will be able to access.
Yeah, so we are recording the webinar, basically.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. So on the CAD side, Rahul, that's your part.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the software and dental system. I mean, we've really been investing a lot on the CAD software. As Rune said, he's been very interested in dentures, digital dentures, and we've been researching for almost 5 years. We've had the software out for more than 3 years, I believe, and it's been a journey. But I think right now the software is in a really good place. Quite a lot of good workflows. So this is a slide just giving an overview of what the software can do. People who know the software know these basic details, but if you're new, then you can basically know that you can use bridge teeth. This is something that we have in the dentures module where you can connect all the teeth either in a single arch or different segments of arches. Then you can also design a single arch, and you can adapt that to the antagonist using the virtual articulator. And this is also a very popular workflow. Then we have a very optimized try-in denture workflow where you design the try-in And if there is any difference when you do a try and bite alignment, then you can use the same try-in scans, or you do a new scan, but adapt it to the previous design. I don't know if I was confusing, but basically when you do a try-in, and if you see there's a difference, you scan that, and you can align that to the previous design and do a redesign. So this is quite a popular workflow as well. And I'll show you some improvements that we have done for 19.3 that'll make it even more simpler. And of course, we're integrating all the dental system CAD software more towards trios. So initially you had to depend on third-party applications, and we are basically reducing that. And I'll show you some of this. So as I mentioned, you can segment the full arch bridge teeth into multiple sections. And here you can see a quote from Germen Versteeg, who's a denturist in Holland, who says that by being able to make 4 arches instead of 2, he's saving 50% on the material cost for the milling, which is a great save. Then we have some refined scan features. Basically, when you bring in scans from trios, you can refine those scans. I have an example in the next slide. But what you can also do is to make the alignment easier. You don't have to take it to a third-party application like Mesh Mixer. You can close the holes and smoothen the borders. We also have made it easier to invert the normals. So basically, if you scan impressions using trios, you just have to say that this is an impression scan, and we will invert the normals, so you will be able to align this easier.
That's a fast question here. Yeah. Can you scan the new bite and the try-in using trios?
Yes, you can do that. So when you bring in trio scans, you have to, in the order form, click on digital impression, and then you can use the same workflow. So this is also touching upon what I mentioned before, that we've improved the scan quality. So you can see here that there's a lot of, the borders don't look so good. And then when you use the refined scan workflow, then we smoothen the borders and we actually close the gaps and holes. So integrating with the intraoral scans has become very much easy right now. All right, some features on 19.3. So 19.3 is a software version that we released, I think, 2 weeks back. So I guess most of you are still on 19.2 or even 19. So ask your resellers about this new software version. We have some really cool features here, especially for dentures. So one of this is giving you the option of having a monoblock output along with your final denture output. So basically, when you do a try-in denture and you see that it fits well, you don't have to go through the redesign again, which used to take around 10 minutes. And if the try-in is good now, then you get an output for the final denture with the teeth and the base separated, so you can directly mill that or print that. So this is a really cool workflow, I think. And the big feature that we are releasing in 19.3 is the copy denture workflow. We've got a lot of positive feedbacks on this. We announced this at IDDS at Atlanta, and we showcased that. So what this workflow is about is if a patient comes in with an existing denture, which is, I believe, more than 50% of the cases, then you do a realignment of the existing denture, and you can scan this denture in a very easy way, scan the upper and the lower, and then you can output either a monoblock or you can output it as separated base and teeth. And I'm going to show a live demo, but I'm also reminding you that in the resource tab in your webinar, there's a link to the YouTube copy denture training. So just click on that and you will see our academy have done a great job on how do you set up the order form, how do you scan, and how do you design these copy dentures. Yeah, Rune.
There's a couple of questions here. So I think the first question goes to the previous slide.
Yeah.
Is it at the CAM5 file?
Unfortunately not.
So what? Yeah. So you only cannot. This is not the monoblock and the output.
Yeah. So the monoblock and the separated base and teeth you basically get in the raw STL output. You don't get in the CAM5. This is something we are of course working on, and hopefully it should be available in the next release. But for the 19.3, unfortunately, this is not there.
Then there's a question from Mark Wilson. So when designing with digital impressions, why can the scan not be watertight?
Yeah, I don't know.
I believe I think it's to be able to do block out. There's some algorithmic reasons why it cannot be watertight.
Yes, it is a technical issue that prevents it from being watertight. But I mean, this is also something we know is a question that we've been asked before, and we are investigating how we can do that better. But thanks for bringing up the question. I will go to, I'll do a screen share now and do a demo of the copy denture feature. Hopefully you guys can see the screen share. What I'm going to do is I'll go directly to the design aspect of the copy denture. Please see the video for the setting up of the order form and the scan procedure. So when you go into the design, you will go directly to the occlusion bite setup. And this is something you're familiar with our full denture module. So we go next to the sculpting of the upper jaw. And here you can either remove or add the wax surface. This is also something very familiar, you would be familiar with if you have used the full denture software. And the next step is where we define all the teeth. So you can see here, this is an already designed case because I had to do it rather quickly. But what you have to do is to place annotation points on top of each tooth. You can also skip a tooth if it's missing, like the molars. And this will help the software in segmentation. So basically, when you place this annotation points, it'll help the software know how to separate the base from the teeth automatically. And when you click next, that is where you can see that you can see the green lines that have been drawn. This is the segmentation. So this is done automatically by the software. And what you can do is you can, on the left, you see grouping the teeth. So basically you can decide what groups you want to do. You can split it into 3 groups as antagonist or a full arch denture, or even do individual teeth setups. And you can clear all the teeth blocks if you want to, and you can do even your individual blocks. So you select which teeth, the starting and the end teeth, and you do the blocks by yourself. And you can edit these lines. If, for example, the lines aren't drawn correctly, then you can edit these. Oh, there goes the light again. So we're going to switch that on. And so you edit the line, and you see that it's, I mean, if you've used our software before, then you can see that this is not something that's very new. You'll be able to work with this very easily. You can also visualize the lines here, the margin lines. And once this is done, you go next. And this is where we come to the sculpt anatomy. And you can, as in the dentures module, you can, of course, do sculpting the anatomy here. And the next step is the sculpt for the denture base. And you can add or remove wax. And I know there's a lot of time spent on customizing denture bases. So you can do your signature denture base here with increasing the papilla and the root thickness. And just to also say that this is something we noticed that a lot of people spend a considerable amount of time when designing. And this is something we're going to improve in the coming software versions, where we'll make it much more easier to design base. And then we go back to the insertion directions here, and you can play with the joystick here with the different insertion direction. And you can see when you do a preview that, yeah, this is how the teeth will look. And you do this for all three, and then go to the pre-manufacturing step, where you set the glue space and drill compensation. And finally, you click on next, and you will have the finished models. So this is, I mean, overall what we have, when we have timed it, it takes less than 10 minutes, including the design, the scan steps. And you can see here that there is both the teeth arch and the denture base. Just a note here, the teeth libraries that are available in the normal design of full dentures, that won't be available for the copy denture workflow, because here we are going to generate the teeth based on your existing denture. So you will not be able to use your teeth libraries, the popular ones that you already use. So that was a quick demo. Please take a look at the YouTube video, and it'll be, yeah, it'll make it much more simpler for you to understand.
But guys, there's been great feedback on this, really, really positive feedback, and we have done hundreds of cases already.
Yes, yes.
So there's two fast questions here. Maybe you will show it, but I'm curious about a workflow for dentures on bar, on locator, etc. So basically, what you can do is you can design the bar first, and then you can do a pen to design, and you can do the denture on top of it. Of course, in the perfect world, you were designing denture first and then the bar, but you have to do it the other way around. Yeah. There's also another question here. Please show us the workflow for immediate partials. We will touch on it, but we didn't have time to show it here. But we'll touch on it, yeah, on a slide going forward here.
Yeah. But please, I mean, you can go to our YouTube channel with, we have a lot of training videos, and you can see that. Quickly also to touch upon what the outputs are currently from the denture module, you have the monoblock. Of course, this is the monolithic output. Most of them are using this for the try-ins. You can print them. Then you have the denture base. If you're still using pre-manufactured teeth, you can glue them in and use the teeth libraries and get the denture base. Or you can do the bridge teeth, as I said, and segment this into various sections. Or you can still use separated teeth output if the library allows. And this is a complicated slide where you can see all our teeth library manufacturers who give out their libraries in the software. And you can see that not everyone gives all the indications out for free. But we have some really new libraries, such as fabulous smile libraries from Przemek, which Rune will touch upon. You can see that they give out all the indications out for free, so you can use that. But if you're using, for example, Dentsply Sirona teeth libraries, which are recently announced, then this is something you have to contact your reseller, Dentsply Sirona reseller, and they will enable this for you for a charge, of course. But even when enabled, then you can only get the base output, so you glue in the teeth, or you can do the monoblock. This is a slide about the Dentsply Sirona libraries that are available now in our software. It's the Portrait IPN and the IPN 3D. And we've heard some really good reviews about this. Of course, it's based on the traditional Portrait IPN denture teeth, but it's also intended for milled dentures. The only drawback, of course, is that you still have to glue in the teeth, which does not make it a fully digital workflow. We wish that Dentsply Sirona had made it open for milling or for printing, but maybe they will in the future. Finally, from my side, to touch upon, we get a lot of questions about where do we get these libraries. If they're free libraries, or if you have paid for them and it's enabled in your dongle, then you can go to the control center and you go to the control panel, and go to the download center, and you get a list of libraries, as you can see here, marked in red, and you just click on them, and they will get downloaded, and you can use them. So yeah, so
There's a couple of questions here. Yeah. So is it possible to construct dentures with less than 14 teeth?
I'm not really sure in the clinical sense, but for the software, yes. You can you can skip the teeth and you can do it. But clinically, I don't know if that's going to be a good fit or not.
In the new version, can you go straight to the setup stage on a case that you already made? Like going back to tweak a setup.
So do you mean that you open a already designed case and then you go straight to the stage? No, this is what we discussed. There's an improvement in the crown and bridge workflow where you can do this, but for the dentures, it's still not possible. We are, of course, going to work on this and implement that. But we don't have a timeline in terms of when this will be enabled. All right.
Erik, you say yes. All right. Is the tooth index feature placement jig output still available? I guess this is the Ivoclar placement jig. Yes.
Yes, it's still available. There's nothing that
changed there. Yeah. Can we design snap-on dentures?
Yes.
That was fast.
Yeah.
Any hints when class 2 setups will be available, meeting lower premolars only?
So I think this is up to the teeth library manufacturers. We have, of course, requested for class 2 setups. I think we have a few teeth library manufacturers who are already working on this. So I will say that in the near future, we should at least get some of the manufacturers to provide us class 2 setups. I don't think it will come for everyone, but I mean, it's good that you asked, Esther. Hello. And we will convey it. I guess you're referring to the Ivoclar because you're using the Ivoclar libraries. We will take this back to them. We have, of course, told them that there is a need for class 2 setups. But yeah, we will work on this in the near future.
All right, let's swap. Time is also running.
Yeah. Go.
All right, so we will move on and actually move straight on to the Fabulous Smile by Przemek and Kate. So Fabulous Smile is basically this book here, which is a fabulous book, by the way. And in here you have a lot of patient pictures. You can, for instance, see this case here. So basically what they have done is they take pictures of a large number of patients, and it's a little bit like going to the hairdresser. And you can choose what haircut you want looking at pictures. Now you have the smile book here, Fabulous Smile book here, and you can choose the smiles from that book. So that's really cool. And what's even more cool is actually coming on the next page here, because basically the first step is that you look at in the book and find the smile you like. Then the next step here is that you can go into Smile Design, where there are 2D libraries. I will show you in 2 seconds what Smile Design is. The next step is then that you can send the Smile Design to the physical, to the lab. And what's really cool is that all patients have been triage scanned. So they have been scanned by a triage, and the smiles have been taken into the 3Shape denture software, where you can then design dentures with them. And of course, you can then produce them and mount them. But you have the book, you have just 2 Smile Design, and you have the cat design, the triage scanned teeth. So really cool. So just looking fast what Smile Design is here. Just gonna play a small video here with it. So Smile Design is basically taking a 2D image, and within 3 to 5 minutes, you can basically take that Smile Design, and I could see this very short video, and you can design it for the patient, and you can show before and after for the patient. And of course, every denture this can be used for, and people, for instance, like Esther that asked a question before, is using it for her patients, and a great excitement, great engagement. Also, another really cool thing about the fabulous smile book here is that this is really natural smiles, right? And for the first time ever, we can actually do natural dentures or natural smiles for dentures. And this is basically what you see here. A couple of pictures here from a case from Germen Versteeg. And you can see how these teeth, because they are natural, they are not artificial and nice, try to see that this looks totally like a natural tooth, a natural smile. So this is really, really cool. And I think the combination here with the fabulous smile is fantastic.
Yeah. And just to repeat, it's free. The libraries are free. Everyone can use this. You should please go ahead and buy the book as well. But the libraries in the software are free to use.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. So, all right, moving on. Also, that if you're not ready to design, you can also use a design service like Full Contour that have a lot of experience now in designing dentures. In the newest version, 19.3 of Dental System, there's also a full integration up here. I can basically click the Full Contour button. It's not rolled out in all countries yet, but it will be rolled out. And you can basically, send your case directly to Full Contour. So really nice. Also, and a good alternative also as an overflow service, etc. There's a couple of,
Well, this is from Tanya.
Tanya.
Hi,
Hi, Tanya.
My question is with the Trio Smile design, under shade section, it would be great to select a true Phonaris shade or Vita shade instead of a graded tab of shades. Will this be coming? I can definitely take this to the team. And
let me discuss. I know already. So we have been discussing that many times. The problem is to hit the shades. It's a great question. And we've had that many times. I know the team have been investigating it, but it's quite hard to hit the shapes, hit the actual shades correctly, also depending on how you visualize on the monitor. And it makes it hard to adjust it very freely. But it is basically high on the list from the Smile Design team already. There's one more question here.
Yeah, where can I find video for snap-on denture design? I'm not sure if we have a particular video. For this, but yeah, we can, if I can write back to you, Vijay, and I'll ask one of the guys to discuss this snap-on denture design.
Also, Tanya have one more question here, which is Trio Smile Design, allowing lower teeth shaping. We are working on that also. Yeah. I know that's very high on the list. And in the process, I don't know the exact release date for that. Can you take when milling the bite?
So when milling the bite with the virtual articulator, can you control the lateral movement? For example, milling in a single upper denture with class 2 deep bite. I believe you can do this, but I need to confirm. Can you control the lateral movement? If
yes, you can.
Yes,
in the virtual articulator, you can control the different movement. You can control all the different movements on the virtual articulator. Then we have a last question before we move on. Can we import face scans and then design the denture? We actually took that slide out, but that was actually the next slide. But to save time, yes, you can import face scans from Belou's 3D and design the denture. And several people have already done it with great results. There's still a challenge on the alignment of the face scan to the other scan, the teeth scan or the edentulous scan. But for instance, Belou's have done some improvements there, and you can also do a basic alignment using third-party import. All right, we will move on unless there's more questions.
Nope.
All right, then just recapping a little bit on the benefits. So you all know that denture, conventional denture workflow requires 5 visits, and for some reason we have some problems here with the new system and pictures here. And it requires 4 visits on the lab side. What is really cool is that if by going digital just on lab side, but not changing the clinical visits, you can actually reduce the visits to 4 because you are basically merging, the custom tray and the vacuum into one step, which is easily done in digital by printing the base plate and then just applying, standard wax trims. There are also even more advanced workflows like the Ivoclar 3D bite plate. And you can see lab time here is then 2 hours instead of 7.5 hours. Even more extreme is the immediate and copy denture workflows. I'm sorry about these pictures. They were working when we did the dry run before. But basically, we do an immediate denture. And the way you do that is that you take either an Intra Oral Scan or an impression. You can then, take it into the design software, and you can manually, virtually trim away, extract teeth. It's very easy, and then you basically design the denture on top. And typically, you will only need 1 or 2 visits for that because it's basically fitting because you have occlusion and everything. A lot of people are also starting to do that now for copy denture. Less than 10% require an additional visit, but of course you can do an additional visit and do the final, not the final, but a second version of the immediate denture if needed. But generally you can do both immediate and copy denture with just 2 visits to the patient. So that is amazing and tremendous time savings, both on lab and on clinic side. So the value proposition is my opinion, and Esther and I believe Tanya and other people that's already applying digital here can truly agree to this, that there are tremendous workflow savings on this workflow. All right, then let's move on to the question we always get, okay, how to manufacture the denture. So in 2018, we kind of identified, 6 main methods. So injection molding, pre-manufactured teeth with milled base, monoblock. And I'm just going to stop with injection molding and the milled monoblock with hand veneering, because this year what we basically see is that they're kind of gone. They're not really used anymore. Instead, there's been introduced the solution by Sirona, where we use pre-manufactured teeth and 3D printed base. I'm not going to go through all of them like on this overview slide. I will go through them one by one here. So we still see quite a lot of people using milling the base and using the pre-manufactured teeth and then gluing in the teeth. There are significant challenges with this, also because the teeth are often not made for digital workflows, which means that the teeth can be flying around in the pockets like this, which is also why some people have this glue guide or jig to actually glue in the teeth. But people are still using this. This workflow is still quite popular. All right, what was launched at the IDDS, so the International Digital Denture Symposium in Atlanta. It's an event with 600 people. It's really by far the best digital denture event in the world. What was launched there was that Sirona material, the Luciton material, was 3D printed. And there was a new line, which Rahul also talked about before, with digital teeth here that can be used, specially developed, and you then glue in the teeth. So previously, the denture base, I'm just going to show a video here.
By Luciton material and denture teeth. And
let's see so basically, previously, the denture bases.
So last time I dropped a printed denture, milled denture out the window,
were quite fragile.
The printed denture
basically, you see Valerie Cooper here, also known as the denture queen, throwing out a denture, Luciton denture, from I believe is more 5th floor, 7th floor. Sorry, thank you, Rahul. And basically, we'll see that the fractures. Doesn't fracture. The previous 3D printed dentures would basically have exploded down here, and but here you can see the denture is basically almost intact here, and you can see there's a small fracture here. You will also see other examples where the dentures have been run over with trucks, etc. But basically, this is a very strong base. And I was almost hype about this new 3D printed denture because you're kind of combining at least some of the good parts. So inexpensive 3D printed bases with denture teeth, and it means that material cost here is around, I believe, $65, and still the main cost is on the denture teeth. Of course, the problem with denture teeth, even though these are digital denture teeth, is the usual problem we have already had, that you need to grind on them if you have an antagonist. You might have to shorten them. There's still a little bit, even though they are more accurate, there's still a little bit problems on holding the occlusion. But this is still super exciting. And of course, again, you cannot do customized teeth instant for copy denture. But super exciting.
And the material is available only with carbon.
And good point. So the materials only weren't available with the carbon printer. The other thing, the other very popular workflow is the milled PMMA teeth and denture base. So what you basically see here, we have a really nice workflow where you mill the base, you mill the teeth. There's a drill compensated, the Lego connection, so you can basically just click them together, and you can bond and polish them. This is super easy. And also what you see here is also that Ivoclar has this patented workflow where you do oversizing. So you do an oversized milling, so you don't mill all the details, you put them together, so all the glue overflow, etc., is removed, and there's very, very little finishing afterwards. You basically polish them just afterwards, and you're basically done. So really, really a cool workflow. And this workflow is highly popular today, and I would say most people, like you're doing high volume digital dentures today, are using milled base and milled teeth. Sorry. We work with a range of official supported milling machines. So, of course, the Ivoclar, where the new PM3 and PM5 are out now, not just the more expensive PM7. There's the roll-in machine, and we also made interface to the Dentsply Sirona machine. Then we have 3D printed base and 3D printed teeth. Now we have the 3D printed base. Unfortunately, Sirona were some chickens. They didn't launch the 3D printed teeth material. Because they want to protect their tooth business. But there is no doubt that the end game is to print both the teeth and the base, and it will give extremely cost-efficient dentures. We see people printing that in immediate dentures today, but we don't see anyone printing both teeth and base for final dentures today, even though there are materials around. Still, the base material, new base material looks really good, but we still need to see at least clinical proof on the teeth. But a lot of people are working on this. So you see, generally there's a very broad range of printers here, going all the way from the Formlabs up over the mid-size printers like 3D System and Asiga, all the way up to the carbon printer. That is really, a high-end printer. You can say the real deal here is actually not so much the printer, but even more the material. The good news is there's a number of different companies that are working intensively on bringing new generations of printed materials, and there's no doubt this is the end game. There might still be a little bit challenge on the aesthetics, but this is the end game, and we will print all dentures, and I believe this is going to disrupt, and most likely the Sirona solution, carbon Sirona solution, is already starting to disrupt the whole way we have dentures made. We have a big DSO in the US that now bought 53 lab scanners and 8 carbons, I believe it is, and installing them in the different clinics, the lab scanners, and then have a centralized location for the carbon printers. So we are already seeing the disruption coming now, and it's just about getting started.
There's a question about how to polish the denture base and printed teeth.
I will say we have to be fair. We are not into all the different polishing techniques here. But I believe that the polishing is a standard polishing that you use. But I know, for instance, that Formlabs have released, and you can find it on their homepage, have released a full guide on this, on how to do this. Was one over? This was a more internal one. All right, let's move on. All right, so here's kind of a summary of the different manufacturing, technologies. You say from aesthetic point of view, everyone develops high aesthetic. 3D printing is still only medium. But of course, if you look at what is the most popular today, which is this one here, you can basically do RPDs, singles, teeth dentures, and upper and lower. The material cost is a little bit on the high side, but labor is very low. But we really have a working workflow here. We see pre-manufactured teeth, especially pre-manufactured teeth with printed base. starting to have some interest. But of course, you have all the old problem of stock teeth, etc. And of course, again, if the printed base, and then the end game is really printed base here. I also believe, and maybe we actually skip that slide, I'm afraid, that you can, combine 3D printed base with milled teeth and getting the best of both worlds. We haven't seen not really people picking up on that yet. So exciting times, but the good news is the solutions out here and they are working. All right. So when we have been working and talking to a lot of labs and denturists and dentists that are trying to get started on these workflows, we really see there's a big need for getting education on this. So just because you are a lab that have been doing a lot of crown and bridge, I really encourage you, and my experience is you need it basically, a denture course also. And we have some great courses coming up. 3Shape Academy here have denture courses in everywhere from Denmark to Australia to Florida. You can write training@3shape.com or go to 3Shape community. Also, Erik Kukucha, who is a really great denturist in Ontario, in Windsor, in Canada, has some great courses. It just hosted courses recently here, and it was great feedback. And here you will learn both the scanning part of it and also the whole design part of it. So this is really a full blow and both clinic and lab workflows. And I mean, talk to Erik, and he will passionately tell you about how this whole digital workflow has improved both patients, but also his own life. So really, really cool.
Yeah, we also have another course coming up by Germen. If you are in Scandinavia, he's running a digital dentures course in Copenhagen, week 5 next year. So yeah, contact Germen Versteeg, the denturist from Holland, for this.
All right, we also really encourage you to join a couple of the Facebook groups here. We really love the digital system, the digital denture system users here with more than 6,000 members. There's also 2 3Shape study clubs, the 3Shape study group, which is more a lab focus. And then there's the 3 study group. We have more than 25,000 members and more than 30,000 in the combined groups. So really join those groups if you are not here already. There's a lot of great communication, especially on digital dentures over here. So I really encourage you to join that. A couple of other options, which I know is relevant for people doing dentures. We have also now launched the new Splint Studio. It is 5 times faster than the previous version and 2 times faster than the Exocad in a head-to-head comparison. And we really see, I didn't put that in, but we really see new second-generation 3D printed materials, which are super exciting. But of course, you can also mill it. Also, there's a great opportunity to do aligners. So we have a great aligner workflow here as well, where you can scan, you can simulate, you can do using Clear Aligner Studio, and you can produce aligners very easily. So just to looking at digital dentures, what is next? We really believe we will see a very strong pickup. We see it's already exploding. It's also been exploding more since Atlanta, the IDDS we can see. We see new materials coming. We see a strong pickup driven by 3D printing. We will see IOS scanning becoming fully enabled with workflows. It's actually very enabled already. You can do immediate dentures, you can do partial dentures, you can do base plates, you can do copy dentures, and then there's CAD software will be faster and easier. And we see a lot of maturing of the complete solution. So let's change dentures together is normally our slogan. We have a small variation here, which is let's change dentures together. So normally I jump here, so I'll do that a little bit here. Is there any questions left besides great presentation?
No, I think we've answered most of the questions.
We've answered them all the way.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen and ladies, thank you for joining. I hope you all learned something. And feel free to reach out to us or connect to us on Facebook. I'm Rune Fisker, and my email is rune@3shape.com, so very easy. And Rahul is a little bit harder, but...
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you that.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye.